Mason Keller had always found a strange peace in the hum of the road. The rhythmic thumping of the tires on the pavement. The glow of dashboard lights illuminating his weathered face. The CB radio crackling occasionally with highway chatter. It was a lonely life, sure, but it was a clean kind of loneliness. He'd learned to enjoy the silence. It was just past 11:30 p.m. when he pulled onto Interstate 60, hauling a load of auto parts from New Mexico to Nevada. The run should have taken a little over 6 hours. He figured he'd make good time, beat the early traffic, and even catch a sunrise breakfast at the truck stop near the state line. But something about this night was off. The air felt too still. The moon was nowhere to be found, and the stars above were veiled behind thick, unmoving clouds that looked like slabs of slate pressing down on the world. His windshield had developed a fine mist, not from rain, but something heavier. Like the atmosphere itself was sweating. As he cruised past mile marker 288, Mason glanced at his GPS. The screen blinked, froze, then rebooted. Weird. No service bars either, which was odd. He wasn't in the middle of nowhere. He should have had a few signals pinging off nearby towers. Still, he didn't give it much thought. Maybe the system just glitched, but that itch started between his shoulder blades, a sharp awareness. Like eyes crawling across his back. He adjusted the rearview mirror, peering into the reflection of his own cab, half expecting someone to be sitting there. Nothing. Just Junebug, the name he'd scratched into the side of the steering wheel. His trusted truck. His only real companion after the divorce. He shook his head and turned the volume up on the radio. Static. Switched the channel. More static. Tried another. Then a voice cut through the noise. Whispery. Gritty. Don't stop after the trees. Mason's hand froze over the dial. The voice didn't return. He flicked it off. Maybe a late-night ghost story broadcast. Maybe sleep deprivation. He sipped from his thermos and told himself to knock it off. But as the truck rumbled forward into the black strip of highway that stretched ahead, he didn't notice that the last vehicle behind him had disappeared from mirrors, nor that the mile markers ahead were spaced out just a bit too far apart. And he definitely didn't notice that the odometer was beginning to count in reverse. The road was stretching now, not just ahead, but around him. He passed mile marker 297, then 301, then nothing for a while. The signs had stopped, so had the exit numbers. And then it happened. Just past the bend of a narrow wooded stretch, something flashed in his high beams. A figure, right in the middle of the road. Mason's instincts kicked in. He hit the brakes hard. The entire rig screamed as the tires skidded, the trailer lurching forward like a steel serpent trying to overtake the cab. The world tilted. The steering wheel jerked in his hands. The truck shuddered violently, then finally screeched to a jarring stop, barely avoiding crushing the figure. Mason's heart was slamming in his chest. He stared forward, gripping the wheel so tightly his knuckles turned white. She stood there, a woman, barefoot, wearing a thin, tattered hospital gown that clung to her frame. Her long, dark hair hung in thick ropes across her face. She didn't move, didn't flinch, just stood there, facing the truck with her head tilted slightly like she was listening. Even through the glass, he could feel something unnatural about her. Her arms hung too long. Her posture was too straight. She looked wrong. Mason leaned forward, mouth open. "Hey, you okay?" The woman didn't respond. She just turned slowly, pivoting unnaturally at the hips, and began walking. No, gliding toward the woods at the side of the road. Her bare feet didn't make a sound on the asphalt. Her movements were mechanical, hypnotic, deliberate. She didn't look back. Mason sat frozen. Every instinct told him not to move. But then something compelled him. He had to know if she was real, if she needed help. His hand reached for the door handle before his brain could stop it. He opened the cab and stepped onto the road. The silence was heavy, like sound had been vacuumed from the air. No crickets, no wind, just the faint hum of his truck cooling under the hood. He looked down at his GPS again. 0 bars, no route data, coordinates 0.0000000, 0.0000000. His breath hitched. He turned back toward the trees, but she was gone. Mason climbed back into the truck, locking the doors with trembling fingers. He forced a deep breath, telling himself it was a trick of the light. Maybe exhaustion, maybe a runaway psych patient, maybe a prank, but that didn't explain the chill in the air. The overwhelming scent of earth and rot that suddenly filled the cab. He shifted into gear. The truck groaned as he eased forward. The road looked darker now, almost like the trees had grown taller, leaning in toward the pavement, smothering the moonless sky above. He passed mile marker 306 and then 310. Still no signs of other vehicles, not even headlights in the far distance. He was alone, or so he thought. Something darted between the trees to his right. He caught it in his peripheral vision, a flash of gray. Long arms, too many joints. He tried to slow down, but then another darted past the left side. Then another. He wasn't imagining it. Something, or multiple things, were keeping pace with the truck. He floored the gas. The speedometer jumped to 65, 70, 80. Still, the shadows moved in unison, as if hunting. And then, bang! The truck jolted sideways as something slammed into the trailer. The whole rig shuddered. He checked the mirrors. Nothing there. Then bang! Bang! 2 more hits, this time from both sides. Mason swerved, fighting to keep the wheel straight. The engine roared. The dashboard flickered. Then, for a split second, the headlights dimmed, and in that moment he saw it. A figure clinging to the passenger side mirror. Its head cocked, its eyes pitch black, its mouth hanging open in a permanent, silent scream. Then gone. The headlights snapped back to full. The radio came alive with white noise and faint whispers. He couldn't make out the words, but he felt them in his bones. Then just like that, silence. No shadows, no banging, no whispers. The truck rolled on. Mason blinked, drenched in sweat, chest heaving. Had he finally lost it? Was he dreaming? But then, in the distance, he saw lights. A flickering neon sign. A gas station. A diner. Civilization. Or so he thought. Mason's tires crunched onto the gravel lot as he pulled into the lone gas station. It looked like something out of the 1960s, a rusted-over Gulf sign, a row of dark pumps, and an old diner attached to the side with flickering neon that read, "Open all night." But what struck Mason as strange was how silent it was. No buzzing insects, no hum from the lights, no mechanical chugging of refrigeration units or ACs. It was like everything had paused the moment he arrived. Still, anything was better than being on that road. He parked the rig, grabbed his flashlight, and stepped out. As he approached the building, a bell above the door chimed with an eerie slowness. Inside, the diner was frozen in time. Checkered floor, red vinyl booths, a jukebox in the corner, softly playing a warped version of an old Connie Francis song. Behind the counter stood a waitress. She didn't look up. She stood perfectly still, her back to him. Pale skin, silver beehive hair. Her apron was spotless, her posture too perfect, as if someone had posed her there. "Hey," Mason said cautiously. "Trucker, I just saw something on the road. You have a phone I can use?" No response. He stepped closer. "Ma'am." She turned. Her smile was wrong. Wide, unmoving, plastic. Her eyes blinked, but not together. One lid dropped a beat slower than the other. Then she spoke. "Bathrooms for paying customers only, sweetie." Her voice sounded human, but hollow, like it had been pre-recorded and played through a speaker. Mason blinked. There was something else, movement, in the kitchen. He leaned slightly over the counter and saw it. Shadows shifting just beyond the swinging doors. Something was crawling across the linoleum back there. Fast, disjointed, like a dog with broken limbs. The waitress didn't react, just kept smiling. "I think I'll pass on the coffee," Mason mumbled, backing out of the diner. As he turned to leave, he caught a glimpse of the back wall's clock. 3:13 a.m. And beneath it, painted over but still visible, was a road sign. "Welcome to mile marker 313. Mason sprinted back to the truck. He slammed the door shut, turned the ignition, and tore out of the gravel lot without looking back. The headlights washed over empty fields. No trees, no other cars, no moon. The road returned, but something was different now. It was looping, He passed a twisted oak tree, then another, and then that same diner sign again, only now it was bent backward like it had been run over by something massive. His GPS was still dead. The clock on the dashboard blinked. Mason gripped the wheel tighter and floored it. 60, 70, 80. He needed to get off this road. He spotted a side road, unmarked, and took the turn hard. The truck fishtailed briefly, but corrected. He drove. For miles. The pavement narrowed, then cracked, then disappeared altogether, turning into a dirt trail. The branches of looming trees scraped against the truck like fingernails, and soon the road turned into a corridor of forest that pressed in on all sides. And still, no end. No turns. Just this endless claustrophobic stretch of dark. Then something ran in front of the truck so fast it was barely more than a blur. He slammed the brakes. The truck stalled. Lights flickered. He sat there in the darkness, engine ticking, breathing, trying not to lose it. Then he heard scratching from the sleeper cab behind him. Mason turned around slowly. The curtain that separated the sleeper from the front seat was slightly open, and something was breathing wetly from within. Mason sat frozen, unable to breathe. The curtain swayed ever so slightly, like someone had just ducked behind it. He reached slowly under the seat where he kept an emergency flashlight. Clicked it on. The beam was weak, barely cutting through the dark. "Who's there?" he croaked. No answer. The breathing continued, ragged, gurgling. He reached out with one trembling hand and jerked the curtain aside. Empty, at first. But then, from the farthest corner of the sleeper cab, under the bunk, he saw movement. Fingers. Long, blackened, two many-jointed fingers curling out from the shadows. Then a voice, low and raspy, whispered from under the bunk. "Drive! Faster, it's coming." Mason backed away, heart hammering. "What's coming?" he gasped. But the voice didn't answer. The fingers retracted. The breathing stopped. And the flashlight died. When he turned the key, the truck roared back to life, but the radio came on by itself. This time, the whisper was louder. "Don't stop. Don't look back. Mile marker 313 doesn't let anyone leave. Back on the road. No more side roads. No more exits." Mason drove, gripping the wheel so tightly his fingers ached. The trees grew impossibly tall. The road narrowed. His headlights only reached a few feet before being swallowed by the dark. It was like the world was collapsing into itself. He passed mile marker 313. Again, and again, and again. Each time, the sign looked more decayed, more twisted. One time it was upside down. Another time, it was dripping a thick, black ooze that steamed on the pavement. The CB radio crackled again. "Turn around." "No," he shouted. "Let take you." I said no. The voice stopped. Then silence. Heavy, crushing. He blinked, and suddenly he was back in front of the diner. But now it was on fire. Flames licked at the roof, but the fire made no sound. No heat. The windows were melting like wax. And inside, the waitress stood perfectly still, smiling, eyes wide and bleeding. He screamed, threw the truck in reverse, and backed into the woods, smashing through branches and underbrush. Then the truck stopped moving. Dead. Frozen. The forest was gone. The road was gone. Everything was gone. Just darkness now, and the sound of hundreds of footsteps approaching. From all directions. He looked at the GPS one last time. Coordinates 313.313/313.313. Then the windshield fogged up from the inside as a dozen handprints appeared across the glass. Then came the whisper, "You should have never stopped." Mason's breaths came in shallow gasps, the cabin stifling with heat and dread. The handprints on the windshield didn't fade. More of them appeared, dozens, hundreds, pressed from the inside and outside. Some small like a child's, others long and sharp like claws. He reached for the door handle to escape, but it wouldn't budge. Locked. From the outside, the radio snapped on again. Only this time, no whispers. Just static and a voice. His voice. "Help me. I can't get out. I can't get out. I can't." The static swallowed the rest. Mason screamed. He slammed his fists into the windshield, into the dashboard, into the door. The GPS blinked red. Coordinates were gone, replaced with just one word. Home. That's what happened. The windshield shattered outward, not from impact, but like it had been pulled apart by something outside reality. And through that broken glass, Mason saw a highway. Not black asphalt, but a glowing red road lined with countless other rigs. Old, rusted, and driverless. Floating above the road was a massive exit sign, flickering in and out of existence. Exit 313, for those who never left. Mason was no longer in the truck. He was standing on that strange, blood-colored road, and all around him were others, truckers, travelers, hitchhikers, walking aimlessly. Some cried, some whispered into radios. Some had no mouths at all. Then Mason saw it. His own truck, now hollow and burned, joining the convoy of ghost rigs moving in slow circles, eternally traveling that cursed road. From a distance, he saw his own body slumped in the driver's seat, eyes wide open, mouth agape, frozen in time. His spirit was trapped in mile marker 313. Forever. Mason Ridge's body was discovered 3 weeks later, parked neatly on the side of a highway that, according to maps, didn't exist. His dashcam footage was corrupted, save for one frame. One blurry image showing a mile marker sign covered in eyes. To this day, truckers who take unfamiliar routes late at night whisper about mile marker 313. Some claim they've passed it more than once in one trip. Others say they've seen Mason's truck still driving, with no one behind the wheel. But they all agree on one thing. If the road starts to loop, if the trees stop swaying, if you see a diner that wasn't there before, don't stop, don't look back. And whatever you do, don't get out of the truck. Because some roads don't lead anywhere. They keep you.